Hello, everyone. This is Jose Munoz. I'm a PhD student at Andrews University, Michigan. And today I'm going to continue our syntax analysis uh, on the book of Revelation. And today we are going to work on chapter 2 and verses 8 to 10. As a reminder, uh, just want to refresh your memories regarding the static aids that we are using uh, as our main sources of information and reference. The first one is the Greek grammar Beyond the Basics by Daniel Wallace. Just remember to keep that close by. Remember that he also has smaller, skinnier version, and he calls this one the basics of the New Testament syntax. As I explained before, this skinnier one has less examples, less explanation, but also very helpful. And the last resource that I want to just mention once again is the New Testament Greek syntax quick guide. This is really extremely helpful to locate the syntax categories as soon as you identify, okay, this is an accusative. You can quickly go there, go here, and then see all the different categories that are listed and that particular syntax. Either if it is a case, either a nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative, or a tense, or any other particular syntax category. You can go there quickly, have an idea about your options, and then take it from there uh, and do your syntax analysis and arrive at your syntax conclusions before you start making exegetical conclusions. Okay, so what we're gonna do is like we did it in the past. We're gonna do a translation as literal as possible of the Greek text, and after that we're gonna go verse by verse and do a syntax analysis, and then bring some exegetical insights, and then some theological conversations, and that's pretty much the dynamics that we're gonna do that we are going to do as we did it in the past. Okay, so let's dive in and start doing our translation. Okay, all right. So here is verse 8, Revelation 2 8. Now remember that when you encounter the Greek text, the first thing you need to look is for your subject. Okay, once you locate your subject, which should be in the nominative case. The tricky thing about subjects is that sometimes subjects are not listed, are not specified in the Greek text. Sometimes because sometimes they are implied, and sometimes they are embedded in the main verb. So you need to, just keep those three dynamics in mind as soon as you start getting ready to do your translation. Look at your subject, look for any nominative that is visible, and if it is not visible, and then look for your main verb because it might be embedded in the main verb. If it is not embedded in the main verb, and then the subject could be implied in the Greek text. So those are key things that you need to keep in mind all the time. All right, so let's locate our subject. Kai to angelo tes en smuren ecclesias grapson. Well, look at this clause. There is nothing in the nominative in this clause. Nothing. We have a conjunction here, and then we have an article, and then a noun. This is in the dative, and then we have a sorry, we have another article here that seems to be all by itself, like an orphan, but he is not an orphan. This is a genitive, an article in the genitive, and is connected with the to the word ecclesias, which is also in the genitive. In the middle, there is a prepositional phrase here, uh, but this article is connected to ecclesias. It belongs to ecclesias, and this is common in the Greek New Testament, because Greek is not so much concerned about word order, but Greek is concerned more about inflection. So that's why you need to, keep that in mind as you start doing your translation. And then we have an imperative, which cannot contain the subject. So let me see. So you're gonna have to start doing your translation with whatever the Greek text is giving you. So, and this is what the Greek text is giving me. I'm just gonna start translating this clause as I see it. Okay, since there is nothing in the nominative, I'm gonna start translating it uh, sequentially. Uh, and to the angel, since this is a dative, you're gonna have to insert something that denotes movement towards, and the preposition to is very adequate to insert here. So to and to the angel, since this is a dative, so to really fix the context and the translation. To the angel, and then you encounter your genitive. Remember, this is an article in the genitive, but it's connected to the word ecclesia, so you need to translate those together. So to the angel of the church, and then you come back to your prepositional phrase in Smyrna. uh, and the angel to the church in Smyrna, right? And that's your imperative. Um, so that's pretty much it about that clause. Let's move into the next one. Here you have your nominative beautifully right here. You have your article in the nominative, and then this noun in the nominative, and then joined by a connective conjunction, kai, and then another noun in the nominative. So this is a double nominative. So this is your subject, okay? This is your subject. So you're gonna take your subject and you're gonna start translating it, and that's how you're gonna do this next clause. And then your main verb, and then this this word here, tade. So take your subject and then your main verb and everything else after that. So the first and the last says this. Okay, uh, that clause is done. Then we move into the next one. Here you find a a dependent clause which is introduced by this relative pronoun. Okay, who now this genital is an aorist. Okay, who was dead. Who was dead? So who was dead? That's one way of translating this. Now I seen some of the translation that uh, there's another way that this can be translated in a more concise way, and you can say who died. Uh, and then of course you kind of leaving out the word dead, but you convey the meaning of this clause. Who, if you say who died, uh, you you are saying the same thing as he was dead. So it's about the same thing. And Kai SSN. So and lived. So this is another erost. So who was dead or who who died and lived. Very good. Revelation 2:9. Oídas zu ten 13 and kai ten dozean. So this is a perfect tense. Is common in the at least in the New Testament. Is also common in the book of Revelation. But this is very interesting because this particular uh, kind of perfect is a perfect, but you don't translate it as a perfect. Uh, you translate it as a simple present. Now, uh, this perfect uh, has that particular nuance. You don't translate it by using a helping verb like I have I have known you. That's not the way you translate this verb uh, with this uh, possessive pronoun here. You say I know you because this is a perfect that has a present tense force. That's the syntactical way of saying what perfect is this. This is a perfect tense that has a present tense force. And this every time you see this verb, think about not translating it as a, as a simple perfect, but you translate it as a simple perfect. You don't translate it as a simple perfect. You translate it as a simple present. Okay, because this is a perfect tense that has a present tense force. Okay, so with that being said, I can translate this. I know your tribulation. This is an accusative. So I know what. Remember, the accusative answers the question what. So I know what. Hello, an accusative, an accusative, an accusative. This is like calling the accusative right away. So I know your tribulation and poverty. Some might say, okay, another way of translating this is I know your tribulation and your poverty. Then what you can do is insert again the possessive pronoun here when you translate the word dosean, uh, poverty. Uh, I will prefer not to repeat the possessive idea since it's already included here from the beginning. So oída zu, I know your tribulation and poverty. Sounds better that way, at least for me. But you, but you. Now here is a subject. Once again, is embedded in the main verb. But you in the verb a me right here. A. But you are second person singular. You are rich. So I know your tribulation and poverty, but you are rich. And the blasphemy or the slander. So Jesus know the slander, the blasphemy. That's pretty much what he's saying here. Uh, the slander from those are who are who call themselves Jews, but they are not. So, but another Allah, but now here you have a verbless clause, meaning that the verb is not stated but is implied, and this is common in the Greek New Testament. Usually, most of the time, the implied verb is the verb to be, the Greek verb eimi. Okay, so but they are a synagogue of Satan. Okay, they are a synagogue of Satan. Let's go into verse 10. Uh, Meden fobu. Now, this is an imperative. This is an imperative, and then this is a strong way of negating something. Okay, and what it means from fobu, from the word phobeo, which means to fear. So, but do not fear. This whole clause here is do not fear. So, um, and it is followed by a relative clause, uh, a relative pronoun. Do not fear what? Okay, once again, where is the subject here? It's embedded in the verb. Okay, meleis is the main subject, and this is an infinitive. So, uh, do not fear what you are about to suffer. Okay, and then you have your period there. Behold, idu, behold. Okay, uh, behold. Where is your nominative? Right here. Ho diabolos. Okay, behold, the devil. So now the subject, the one who is doing the action, is here is the devil. Okay, this is sort of, it's going to be very significant when we get to the explanation. Uh, okay, behold, uh, the devil, the devil is about to throw some of you. So you go from the devil, and then to the verb, uh, about to, and then to throw. So the devil is about to throw some of you, and then the preposition, in, is, in, or into prison. In order, this is a hina with uh, a hina clause right here with the subjunctive. Uh, you It's about to throw some of you into prison in order for you to be tested, to be tried, and you once again, the subject is embedded in the main verb. You will have tribulation for 10 days. You will have tribulation for 10 days. Now, this is another imperative, a present imperative, from ginomai, be faithful, and then a preposition here, which begins a prepositional phrase, be faithful until death. And uh, and then this is a future tense from didomi, I will give you the Stephanon tes zoes. That's a wonderful phrase. I will give you the crown of life. So this is pretty much a general translation as literal as possible. So uh, let's go into our explanation now of the syntax. Okay, now we are going to take a look at verse 8, and we are going all the way to the end of this verse, and we're going to take a look at the last clause, this dependent clause, which is introduced by this relative pronoun, okay, hos, geneto, necros, kai, esessen, okay, who was dead or who died and lived or came back to life. Okay, so here we have a genital. This is an eros. Now, this eros, uh, in in the Greek eros in general, conveys the idea of an action uh, that that took place. Is an undefined action took place without really focusing on the nature of that action. The action took place. The action happened, occurred, and that's the eros in general. In general, but this is very significant because here is describing the death of Christ, and there is a big scholarly discussion about the death of Christ and the historicity of the death of Christ, and among historical critical scholars who uh, don't see how they can locate the historicity of the death as an actual event in the gospel narratives, and there is a big debate about the death of Christ and his resurrection being really just invented by the early church of the first century. But here, John is just making a remarkable statement with the use of the aorist. He's saying that Jesus died. The action took place. And this is very significant. Now, but we can go a little deeper and keep asking ourselves, okay, so besides being describing the general action of dying as taking place, what else is the Eros telling us? Then, keep asking uh, questions to the text, and then you're gonna get to a much richer place. All right, so when it comes to the syntax categories of the errors, there are several options. And remember, go to your uh, go to your quick guide and seek locate the errors, and all the categories will be listed there. And then you start thinking through these things and see what best category will fit the context, and you take it from there, and you make your syntactical decision, and after that you make your exegetical decisions. Okay, so we're gonna make some syntactical decisions besides the one that we already made. So here are the categories for the aorist tense. The aorist tense can be constantive, meaning that the action is perceived as a whole. It is also called the global aorist, very common in the Greek New Testament. Uh, Now, but the arrows can also be ingressive, meaning that, or insective is another terminology that grammarians use to describe this kind of arrow that is ingressive. The ingressive arrows put emphasis at the beginning of the action, and then we generally use the translation, he began to walk, for example. Okay, so now, but there is another option, uh, which is the consumative eros. Now, this the consumative eros stresses the the idea of cessation uh, of an action. For example, verbs as to die, they take the eros because they express cessation. They express the idea that everything stopped to a point at a point. So this might be an eros that is consumative, which is uh, putting the stress and the cessation of the action or the entering into a state uh, um, that is terminal. And once again, since this is considering the death of Christ, this makes the death of Christ idea a little stronger. Christ entered into a state of cessation when he died. He entered into a terminal uh, state of death. He died, no doubt about it. And the Eros tells and communicate that idea. Okay, now let's go into the next word. Okay, Esessen. Now this is uh, the word uh, uh, to live, and it's also an Eros tense. So now, once again, it expresses the idea in a general way, but the idea that he lived, okay. Uh, but we need to ask the question again and again. Okay, is there anything else that this eros can tells us about the resurrection, Christ coming back to life? Uh, what else this eros is telling us? That's a significant question for you to get more syntactical ideas so you can build your exegetical analysis and your theology after that. So if Jesus then, if this eros is or is considered as an ingressive eros, meaning that the author is putting the emphasis uh, at the beginning of the action, okay, or is a consumative aorist, meaning that the writer is putting the emphasis at the end of the action, okay, that is described as a whole. So which one it is? Is it consumative? Is it stressing cessation? Or is it ingressive or insective? Uh, Putting the stress at the beginning of the action or at the entering into a new state. I will say that here at the word egeneto, there's no doubt that the syntax has to be taken as consumative. It puts the emphasis at the end of the action. Christ died. He entered into that state of being dead. But here he lived, he is entering into a new state. This is the state of the living. So he really was dead, and now he is now coming back to life, and he lived. But the emphasis is put, the arrows put an emphasis at the beginning of the action of living. And then we could translate these errors as Jesus began to live. So here he died, egeneto, but here he began to live again. So if you insert in your translation, he began to live, you are communicating that you are taking this as an ingressive aorist, which makes puts the emphasis at the beginning of the action of the or at the entering into a new state. In this case, Christ is entering into this new state of being alive again. So think about how the arrows, is functioning here. The arrows is telling you that Christ definitely died, completely died. There's no doubt in the arrows that he died, but there is no doubt also in the arrows that he lived because he came back. You know, and the author is putting the emphasis at the beginning of the action of coming back to life. He began to live again, and that this is very significant and very remarkable. So, eros, consumative eros, egeneto, ingressive eros, esessen. The emphasis in egeneto is at the end of the action, uh, the meaning of cessation, and the ingressive eros is puts the emphasis at the beginning of the. Again, it puts the emphasis at the end of the action, meaning that this Jesus really died, and it's just describing the state of Jesus being dead. But here, the word esessen describes an action uh, that begins to happen after Jesus died. So Jesus came back to life, ingressive eros, and then again it's of consumative eros. Christ really died, and Christ really came back to life. And this is remarkable. All right, so gonna move on to Revelation 2:9. Gonna try to speed up this conversation. Let's think about the word oida. Now, this is a very interesting word because this is a perfect uh, tense, oida, and it's very common in the Greek New Testament, and it is translated as to know. Uh, I know your affliction and poverty. So, but this is an aorist. I mean, I'm sorry. This is a perfect tense. Now, what is the first question that you need to ask yourself when you look at a particular word and you're trying to understand the meaning, the syntactical meaning of this word? How is this perfect oida is functioning in the text? What are the options when it comes to the perfect tense? All right, so here are your options. Remember, go to your quick guide and you will find the perfect, and you will find there the options, and then you're gonna start kind of going through those options, praying about it, and then trying to locate the best possible meaning that fits the context. Okay, so this is a perfect tense. The possibilities are similar to the to the aorist, but also different. For example, the perfect can be intensive or resultative. Okay, and the emphasis is on the results uh, that come out of that action, or and the present state that this action brought about. Okay, and another idea that you can contemplate is uh, this perfect as having the meaning of extensive. Uh, This could be functioning also as an extensive uh, perfect. In as an extensive perfect, uh, it puts the emphasis on the completed action from which the present tense, the present state emerges, or the present action emerges. Or it could be a dramatic uh, perfect. In in a dramatic perfect put the emphasis uh, on being a simple past, but is used to add vividness to what is being said. Or we can consider this as being a present with a perfect tense with a present tense force. Now, here is very interesting because with this perfect tense nuance, the action and the results blend into one. Usually, the perfect tense has the meaning that is an action that took place in the past with ongoing present uh, time consequences. So, uh, but the, but if we consider this word to this present this perfect to be functioning as a perfect with a present force, and then what we are saying here is that the action and the results uh, are not separated, but they just are blended into one. It doesn't refer to an action that took place in the past. Okay, the action was completed, the action took place in the past, and now we see the ongoing consequences or the ongoing results in the present. So the general perfect keeps those ideas separated. But if the perfect has a perfect present tense force, those two ideas are blended into one. And the action becomes the results, and the results become the actions. Very interesting, this nuance. And this is probably what is happening here in this passage, because oida is most of the time taken as a perfect tense, but it's not translated as a perfect tense. It's not translated. Okay, I I have known you. It just doesn't flow. It doesn't flow well. It doesn't feel well in the as a syntax that fits the context. And then grammarians and exegetes usually take this word as a perfect tense that has a present tense force. That's how we're gonna take this word. So that's why when I translated it, I didn't say I have known you. I know your affliction. So meaning that the action and the results are blended into one. Okay, the actions are the results are the actions, become the action. That's the idea behind this kind of a perfect tense with a present tense force, according to Wallace. Which I think is very significant and very helpful when it comes to understand this perfect. Okay, so I I know you. So this the idea is is the action and the results have become one. Okay, and it's taken as a present tense, not as an action that was completed in the past and then has ongoing consequences, but it's an action in the present with a present force. I know you. That is a present tense action. So God doesn't. doesn't necessarily know me from the past, but he knows me now. He knows me now, and he is gonna keep knowing me, knowing and knowing me, knowing me and knowing me. The present tense, the perfect with the present tense force seems to bring out that nuance that God knows me, knows you right now, at the present, at this very moment, at the present time. Of course, God knows us, our past and everything, but the author is trying to emphasize that the fact that God knows me, knows you right now in the present. And that is very significant. Now, there's another thing that I want to bring up to you, and that is the difference between two words here, the word oida and the word ginosko. They both mean to know in English, okay? But they're two different knowledges. The word ginosko uh, generally is the knowledge that comes from experience. For example, in John 17:3, Jesus said, and this is eternal life, that they may know you. The word that Jesus uses there is the word ginosko. He doesn't use oida. He uses the word ginosko. Okay. And oida has to do with experience. So when it relates to us, the knowledge that we acquire about Jesus, and what John is communicating is a knowledge that comes through experiencing Him. The eternal life is something that we experience in Christ. So we know, when we know God by experience, we experience eternal life. And that is an idea that John is trying to communicate with the word ginosko. So it is a knowledge that comes by experience. But here, oida is the knowledge that relates by having information. Okay, uh, uh, not is the knowledge that someone has it uh, as 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 an as an information knowledge. Uh, and what John is trying to say here is that all the information, all the possible information that that might be related to you, God knows it. The present, the future, and the past, the present, and the future. In other words, God doesn't need to experience or wait until things happen uh, for Him to know. The word oida tell us that God already has that information. God already knows that. So this is very, very significant. God knows, the affliction of the church of Smyrna, and also her poverty, and this is not new for him. Uh, he knows what the church is gonna suffer, and he knows all of that information. It's not something that he needs to wait until he go through the experience of seeing the church suffering. No, he already knows what is going to happen, and this is remarkable, because the church is gonna go through some difficult times, difficult persecutions, but Christ is telling the church from the beginning, I already know. I already know. I already know your tribulation. I already know what is gonna happen. Don't worry, I got you back. That's what the the text is really saying. All right, let's move into the next one. Now, this is a conjunction. The conjunction Allah. Uh, there are several type of conjunctions in the Greek New Testament. Once again, go to your quick guide. You will see all the conjunctions there and how are they categorized, and you can have a quick idea about what are they and the syntactical meaning of each one of them, and then you can start seeing how uh, you can apply them into your exegetic syntactical analysis. This particular conjunction Allah, okay, is a logical conjunction, uh, and then it's a logical conjunction, okay. Now, but underneath of being a logical conjunction, there are also uh, some nuances that are very significant, and we're gonna get to them so that we can get to the deeper syntax analysis of this particular conjunction. And that is the nuance of emphatic meaning or adversative meaning. So Allah can be used as an emphatic meaning or as an adversative meaning. Many times it's translated as but or even. It depends on what is going on. Okay, here is here is can be taken emphatically. Uh, God, Christ is making a strong emphasis here because I know your tribulation and uh, your tribulation and poverty. Okay, uh, so tribulation and poverty, well, they don't seem to be good things, But Christ is telling the church of Smyrna that he knows what is the church going through. He knows about the tribulation and also their poverty. And then he introduces this conjunction, but. So we can take these conjunctions emphatically as John trying to make a strong emphasis on what is going to follow. Okay. So, but it says very strong emphasis. You are rich. So the 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 richness of the church of Smyrna supersede her affliction and her poverty. The church is rich, and this is one of the dichotomies of the gospel. You know, when you lose is when you win. Uh, in the gospel, when you give uh, when if you're trying to save your life, you lose it. If you lose it, then you win eternal life. So it's kind of a dichotomy. So the John is telling the church that yes, the tribulation and poverty are negative, but you are rich. So there is a strong emphasis on the church being rich. Uh, uh, Plusios. The church has more uh, than tribulation and poverty. The church is a rich church. And then how can someone going through tribulation and poverty and at the same time being so rich? Rich in the spirit. Absolutely. So our 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 riches do not relate to this world. Our riches relate to the world above and the world that is to come. And in what John is trying to do here is probably trying to make the focus and the riches riches that God has provided to the church of Smyrna, despite the church suffering affliction and resurrection. So very significant. Now you can also take Allah as an adversative conjunction, meaning that okay, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but and then it, it's kind of contrasting the two ideas. Uh, tribulation and poverty contrasted by rich, by the idea of being rich. And this is a very remarkable idea. The emphasis is not on the tribulation and the poverty. And here is the thing. Many times, we focus on the tribulation when we're going through so many problems and the adversities that we're going through and the poverty. But that shouldn't be our focus. Our focus should be on how rich we are in the Spirit of Christ, because that is the emphasis here. Yes, Christ, understands our tribulation and poverties, and he states this from the beginning. I understand. I understand your tribulation, saying what you're going through. Absolutely. But I want you to focus on the idea that you are rich, that you are a rich church. So whatever you might be going through at this moment, remember the message to the church of Smyrna. You are a rich person. You're a blessed person. Okay? All right. So let's finish with the last passage and see if we can deal with this imperative. Very significant imperative here. Okay, 2:10. Do not fear, from phobeo, to fear what you are about to suffer. Okay, so now this is a very strong way to uh, express negation uh, with the imperative. So very strong message here about not fearing uh, what is about to happen to the Church of Smyrna. Okay, but I wanna focus on the imperative here. The imperative uh, is yeah, two type of imperatives in the New Testament. The imperative it has a is a present tense, is a present imperative, of is an aorist imperative. This one is a present imperative. Now there is no time contemplated in the imperative. Only in the indicative there is real time. But in the imperative there is no real time. What is emphasized is the nature of the action, okay, that is being emphasized, okay, and the nature of the action is emphasized or with uh, by the tenses. So this is a present imperative. So this is a the this is a command. This is a command, because this is an imperative. This is one of the nuances of the imperative, that it indicates a command. It might indicate a request, but in this case, it indicates a command. Okay, uh, but the command is given in the present tense, meaning that this is an ongoing command. Okay, the present tense indicates an ongoing command. Okay, uh, and this is very significant because the church is giving a prediction here. The church of Smyrna is about to suffer. Okay, is about to enter into a period of suffering, and God in Christ is telling the church, do not fear. But not only this imperative conveys a message that should be contemplated once, but this is a message about not fearing what you're about to suffer on an ongoing basis, continuous. Uh, since this is a present imperative. So the idea is that you shouldn't fear continually, okay, on an ongoing basis, all the time. Do not fear, not at this particular moment or tomorrow, but this is a message of not fearing as a continuous idea that we shouldn't fear. And it fixed the church of Smyrna because Smyrna is about to enter into real big challenges. And the church of Smyrna should remember that she should continue to not fear what she is about to go through. All right, so let's go to the last one, and that is this Hina clause. Okay, the Hina clause. Now, do not fear what are you about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison in order for you, in order or for the purpose, uh, for the purpose to of you to be tested or tried. Now, let's deal with the syntactical nuance of hina plus the subjunctive. Hina eh, most of the time will take the subjunctive, um, uh, and this is the case here. In hina plus the subjunctive, usually express purpose or results. Okay, and this grammatical construction uh, uh, communicates this idea of purpose and or result. So hina plus the subjunctive equals results or purpose. Which one should it be? Like I said before, sometimes the line between purpose and results is very slim, and many times the two overlap. But remember, uh, uh, if it is purpose, the author is emphasizing his intentionality. If it is result, uh, the author is emphasizing the consequences of those actions. Which one is the one that better fit the context? Okay, so it is about to throw you. The devil is about to throw some of you in prison in order for you. You have to insert in the translation something that communicate purpose or result if you're gonna use it as resultative. Uh, I think that the nuance, the strongest case here is purpose, telic idea. So it's about to throw some of you in prison in order for you to be tested, and that is significant. In order for you to be tested. Now, this is the purpose. There is a purpose in the sufferings of the church of Smyrna. These sufferings are not these tribulations, uh, persecution for 10 days is not given in a vacuum. It's not given without any purpose. There's a purpose. God has a purpose, and there is a purpose, a divine purpose that is behind everything that is happening in the church of Smyrna. That's why the church of Smyrna is encouraged not to fear in a continuous basis, as a continuous idea. Do not fear. And the same thing applies to us. When we go through tribulation and we are thrown, uh, following the purposes of God into tribulation, into big challenges, remember that we shouldn't fear, and that fear has to be reminded on a continuous basis. Here is being given to the church of Smyrna uh, that she shouldn't be fear because uh, what she's about to suffer. Now, here is something really interesting as well. Besides expressing purpose, hina plus subjunctive, this is a passive voice. And this is very significant because there are there are many passages in the book of Revelation, or in the epistles of Paul, and also in the Gospels. And when we see a passive voice, try to see if you can see this passive voice as a divine passive, meaning that the action that is done by God. The subject who executes the action is God Himself. And I think the hina plus the subjunctive plus in being in the passive voice communicates the idea that the one, although but listen to this, the devil is the devil here, ho diabolos, is a subject. Oh, he is about, there was about to throw you, some of you to, is about to throw some of you in in jail in order for you to be uh to be tested. So God is the one who is going, uh God is the one. If we take this as a passive voice, and then we can say that God is, we can conclude that God is the one who is leading this action of the church being tested. Okay, uh, of course, the devil is executing his will, uh, but God is allowing the devil to execute this persecution, to throw some of the members of the Church of Smyrna in jail in order for them to be tested, in order for them to be tried. Uh, so God is behind this. In other words, that's the bottom line of this syntax analysis. God is behind the church being tested. There is a purpose in God allowing the devil to throw some of the members of the Church of Smyrna in jail. So very significant. Hina plus the subjunctive expresses purpose. The idea of the divine passive communicates that God is the one behind these actions, and these actions are not taking place in a vacuum, and that we should be encouraged because although these are not positive things, God is behind all of those negative things that are happening to the Church of Smyrna. All right. So the last one, the another imperative, another present imperative, uh, gino, okay, from ginomai, be faithful. Once again, the present tense indicates that this is an action that is supposed to be ongoing, continuous. This is a continuous action. The action of being faithful has to remain continuous because the church is being tested, is being thrown in jail. Uh, some of the members are being thrown in jail. The church is being tested. So the call for the church is for the church to continue to be faithful. Be faithful until death. And this is very significant. The church needs to continue to be faithful. Uh, if the church stops of being faithful, the church will fail and Satan will overcome. So the call is given to the church of Smyrna to remain faithful on a continuous basis, as an ongoing, as a continuous idea. Be faithful until death.